Welcome to this channel. If you've done any camping at all, you're very familiar with the normal round fire pit built out of stones that you build a fire in just to keep yourself warm and to give comfort. And they're just nice to sit around. But for cooking, they're not that effective. There's much better ways of building a cook fire, and I'm going to show you that in this video. We're going to build a square fire pit that has a backstop on it that serves as kind of a chimney, and serves two purposes. Number one, it's a heat reflector, and the smoke naturally tends to go toward the heat deflector, and also it creates a draft. So the front of the fire is going to stay open where oxygen can get under the coals and rise up toward the back, and it keeps a lot of the smoke out of your eyes, out of your face. You probably are very familiar with normal campfires. It seems like whenever you move around to try to escape the fire, it follows you. The reason why that is your body is warm and it attracts the heat off of the fire, and that's where the smoke goes. This will keep the smoke away from you and cook the food a lot better. You've probably realized that it's not as easy as it looks, or some people thinks it is, to be able to cook food efficiently on a campfire. A lot of times it takes forever to cook the food and it don't get cooked good enough, and so this is going to make it a lot easier on you. I hope you enjoy the video. You like my hat? Yeah, you like it better with it on. Today I'm going to teach you 3 easy steps on how to build a campfire, specifically a cook fire. My dad taught me when I was young that it's better to build a fire rather than make a fire. The 3 steps are preparation, building, and maintaining. Building a cook fire properly is the only way to really have a successful cook fire. That is a typical fire pit. Alright, so that is the smoke deflector. It helps draw the heat to the back side of the fire and draws the air under the front and pulls it through the coals. In preparation, always start small and get your kindling together. Get your the next biggest wood ready, and then your logs ready. All your wood needs to be ready and sitting next to the fire pit or whatever you're building your fire in. The best wood to find is a deadfall that's completely dry. Start by breaking off a limb. Break off the smallest pieces first. Once you have a good handful of small pieces, then you can start with the bigger. And if you break it and then tear, it comes off easier. And they're piled up and ready. Now that we've got our kindling together, we're going to get our tinder. And I'm going to be using, some people call it pine lighter, some people call it fat wood. So we're going to get that out of a pine stump that the sap has went down in. What I'm going to do is put something under it to catch the tinder. And I'm gonna scrape it off with my knife. Put it on there at a little bit of an angle, and put your hand on the spine and just drag it across. And it shaves small pieces off. Now that I have that, I'll get the bigger pieces. This time I'm going to chop it off with my camp hatchet. Now at this point we can either just break some bigger pieces of wood off maybe an inch, 2 inches in diameter, 3 inches, to build the fire with, or we can process, which is the best way to do it. So I'm going to show you both ways, and you'll be able to do either one. If you don't have a saw, you can break them off. You can cut it with a hatchet after you take the sheath off, or you can use a folding saw. And always have something to put it on, it just makes it much easier. Or you can use a bow saw. Now it's much better when you're building a cook fire to process the wood up. And the reason, bark doesn't burn near as good as the inside of the wood does. And when you split it up, it gives more surface area. So it just builds a better fire to cook with. That'll make a much better cook fire. Now that we have the wood processed up, I want to show you how easy it is to get it started. Now that we have everything ready, use the back of your knife.
Alright, we're about to start a fire here, and Brother Jody has went through, he's gotten us tiny kindling, a little bit bigger, kind of walk it up. And I always keep a fire tin on my my bushcraft belt, but I've got dryer lint, it's very good. And then I've got some fat wood. I don't know if you can see that, Brother Jody, but I mean that thing is just saturated. And I always keep some good chunks of fat wood. I keep emergency fire starter, which is waxed cotton that acts as a wick. And if you're ever in an emergency, I save those because you can start those in rain with just very little spark. And then I have some fat wood that's already feathered up in there. And then that's a cotton ball that years ago I put in Vaseline. And so I have taken one of the cotton balls out, and I am going to use that. And then I also have here a big piece of fat wood, light or not, whatever you want to call it. And I am just gonna just get me some stuff in there and get some good, that you can just see the color in that. And that's where all that pine rosin has just went right in there and settled in. And that'll help be more of a, this is more of a like a wick almost than just burn up quick kind of stuff. So we save that, but look at that color in that right there. That's just beautiful. And so I have a fire bag here. I've got all kind of different fire tricks, and typically I'll use this big ferro rod, and I may have to use it today anyways, but I just got this new bushcraft necklace, and I want to use it. It's by Wazoo Survival, and I've never really struck it. In the house I struck it a little bit, but you're supposed to be able to take that ceramic knife and strike on this ferro rod and get you a good enough spark to start the fire. So here we go. See if I can get it. There we go. So there you go. And that's going to act as a wick for us. We're going to just start adding a little bit at a time. Let that catch. A little bit at a time. Let that fire build small. And the wood's real wet here. Some of that little stuff's green, but it'll catch, should catch with this. We'll have us a fire here in a second.
Now that you went from that size wood up to that size, up to processed wood, you can even go bigger. You can do half sizes, but that right there is fine. But the goal is to get a good hot bed of coals. And what you want to do is you want to build the fire bigger than you think you need it. And maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 pieces this size. And let it burn for an hour or so, and let it burn down to where you got a bunch of coals in the bottom of the fire pit. And the reason we put that backstop on the fire pit, the square designed one, is so that a draft can take place and it'll draw oxygen. All right, so that is the smoke deflector. It helps draw the heat to the back side of the fire and draws the air under the front and pulls it through the coals. So, and then I've got 2 little rocks that I've embedded in the ground right there that are flat on top, that I can put my pan on and not have to worry about it falling over. Brother Chris is washing his bacon off where he dropped it on the ground. What a sin. What a sin. Look at that.
Put that on the video. Got us some deer tenderloin cooked over the fire, and I forgot my or couldn't find my fork, so chopsticks.
I hope this video has been a help to you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you clicking on it and watching it. Please consider subscribing to this channel. And remember to turn your notifications on so you'll know when we post the next video. On the next video, I'll show you how to get a burr on the spine of your knife.